I've been talking about making a Black Falcon castle for a really long time now, so I finally made an order on Pick-a-Brick for a ton of the parts that I needed to make it. Today we're going to be taking a look at all of the parts that I ordered, and later in the video I'll show you the first wall of the castle that I made with all of the parts that we got in this video. I've got a lot of fun techniques and little fun details in the castle wall, so I am super excited to show you all that. But first, let's take a look at all the parts that I ordered. For the longest time, I've basically had 0 light bluish gray masonry bricks, which meant that all of my castle mocks were looking a little untextured. I finally ordered 150 of them. Now, did Pick-a-Brick send me exactly 150 masonry bricks? No, of course they didn't. This is the #1 problem with PAB. If you aren't aware, they rarely send you exactly what you ordered. Sometimes they'll short you, and sometimes they'll give you more than what you ordered. In this case, I was given just over 100 masonry bricks, about 40-ish off of what I actually ordered. I usually don't care too much to contact LEGO over missing pieces in PAB, but I think I'm going to contact them this time because I really need those missing masonry bricks. Alright, moving on, let's now take a look at the other wall texturing parts that I grabbed. Here are a bunch of ingot pieces in light bluish gray. These are fantastic for adding in more texture to a castle. I'll show you a little example here. They just add a little indent into each wall that almost works in a similar vein to masonry bricks. So when you combine them together with masonry bricks, plates, and these headlight bricks, you get a really nicely detailed wall. That brings me to the other parts that I got for my castle walls, these snot bricks. So I've got some regular 1x1 snot bricks and some others with more snot attachments, but the main star here is the headlight brick. Because as seen in the example wall, you can turn them on their side and add a 1x1 plate to them, and you have a perfect little stud detail on the outside of a wall. I am a huge fan of this look, and you'll see this in the Black Falcon castle later in the video. Now let's take a look at some of the more fun elements that I have in this order. Here I've got some printed 1x1 rounds. The gold coin print here is one of my favorites, and I'm going to be using it as the currency for my castle world. It's just a tiny little crown print on a gold 1x1 rounds, but it works great as gold coins. And then of course I have this 1x1 log print, which is great for a ton of things, but I plan on mainly using it for wooden posts like this one here. I also ordered 5 of these minifigure angled stands. They are perfect for getting some action poses out of your minifigures and can be daisy chained together for some even crazier looking scenes. I'd highly recommend you pick some of these up. They're just wonderful little tools to have in your collection. One of the last 2 minifigure accessories I have in this order is this dark brown hairpiece. I just really wanted to have this hairpiece because I didn't have it yet, so it will be a fine addition to my custom minifigure stash. And something that I am super happy to have is all of these black bows. Now I ordered 15 of these but ended up getting like an extra 10, so I've got 25 of these now and I am so happy. I'm really glad to have extras of these because I'm using these for both my Black Falcons and for my Fright Knights. So let me upgrade those guys real quick. The Fright Knights look so much better with black bows. In my next PAB order that hasn't shipped quite yet, I'll be getting a bunch of black quivers as well, which will be really nice to match with these. Now let's talk about terrain. Over the past 2 to 4 months, I've been grabbing dark tan and olive green parts wherever I can find them. And I'm doing pretty good on the dark tan front as they're quite a bit more common than olive green. So in this order, a large percentage of the parts are olive green. Here I have a bunch of 1x2 plates, 1x1 plates, along with some 1x2 tiles and a few 2x2 plates. Olive green is my personal favorite color for grass in castle mocks. It's just got a slightly more realistic look than some of the other greens and works great for the style that I'm aiming for in my builds. I also made sure to grab a bunch of these cheese slopes in olive green because they just add even more texture and detail into your terrain work. I used all of these parts on the outside terrain of my Black Falcon castle, so stay tuned for that. Next, I've got a bunch of foliage parts, mostly in olive green, but I also have a ton of these in bright light orange as well. Now, the bright light orange ones are not for this Black Falcon castle, but will be used in some other mocks coming up later this year. Let's now quickly take a look at all of the other light bluish gray parts in this order, before we get to some more fun techniques that I've got in store. I ordered quite a lot of light bluish gray plates because I was somehow running low on them. These are of course used in the castle walls a lot, so I should have enough for a good portion of the castle. I also made sure to order some tiles in light bluish gray for floor texturing on the inside of my towers that I have planned, and I also have more of these dark tan plates for the inside walls of my castle. I wanted my castle's inner courtyard to be made up of dark tan and medium nougat because I think that color scheme works super well for dirt and mud in my opinion. And finally, the last gray part that I have to show you today are these 1x2 panels, which I use to hide a shield snugly in a wall, which will be really useful for my castle walls because I just love how these shields look when placed inside of a wall. The last parts that I have today are all in reddish brown, mainly for the walkways on the top of the castle walls. I am a big fan of how reddish brown looks with light bluish gray walls, so that is what I went with. I've got a bunch of tiles and these jumper-ish plates in 1x4 and 2x2, which have some studs to help with adding more texture to your walkways. The last parts I have here are probably a little confusing if you aren't familiar with a certain technique, so let me show you. I first saw this tech in Edge of Bricks' large castle mock. It's a super simple but sleek way to make a guardrail for the inside of a castle wall. All you do is place these clip pieces together with a bar, floor, and then you sit them on top of these pin parts. It makes for a small guardrail. Oftentimes guardrails can look a little too large and clunky if you use too many regular bricks, so this option is much more appealing to me. Alright, now let me show you my Black Falcon castle wall. Starting with the front, you'll notice that I've taken the castle wall from my medieval battle pack video and upgraded it with all of the parts from this pab order. I've got all of those ingots in there with headlight bricks and of course the much needed and necessary masonry bricks. I think this looks leagues better than the one in that video from a month ago. I've also used all of my olive green parts to add a grassy exterior to the outside of my wall. Now I might change this in the future by adding in some flowers or possibly some dark tan to break up that color, but who knows. If we now move on to the top of the wall where the walkway is, you'll see that I have a bunch of these reddish brown tiles and jumpers to have the figs stand on, along with a barrel of arrows that I've placed up here for my archers. I really wanted this walkway to be large enough to place a bunch of figs, so they have 4 studs across to stand on. At first I just had 3 studs and it felt a little bit too tight up here. This looks so much better in my opinion. Now the merlins here on the top of the wall are definitely shorter than what would be considered realistic, but I just wasn't a fan of how they looked when they were taller. It would absolutely be more realistic and historically accurate to have them be taller, but in the end, I'm more concerned with the aesthetics of the castle than I am with being 100% accurate. Now let's take a look at the interior so that we can get a better look at these guardrails. You'll see the design that I mentioned earlier that I learned from Edge of Bricks, and like in his mock, I've added some posts in between each set of bars, and I just adore how this looks from the inside. They all match up with the support beams under them, and it just looks perfect to me. The ground on the inside is made up of dark tan and medium nougat plates and tiles, which again is just a fantastic color scheme for a muddy castle courtyard. I've also went ahead and added in some extra stuff for the Black Falcon soldiers. I've got a tiny weapon rack made with some more of these brown pyramid parts, and I've got another barrel of arrows with a crate of swords alongside it. I am so happy with how the interior of this looks so far, and it's got me super excited to build the rest of this castle over the next coming months. It's crazy to look back on the Black Falcon wall that I made last July and just how much better and more detailed this new one is. It's got me super motivated to build my first ever full castle, so I hope you all stick around to see it through with me. If you have any ideas or suggestions for the castle, please feel free to let me know in the comments. I love hearing all of your ideas. It gives me so many things to think about when building. I really hope you enjoyed this little pab haul and castle update. I'll have a full series of videos on this castle coming soon. If you enjoyed this video, why not subscribe? Basically, all I make is LEGO castle videos, so if you're into that, you'll probably like my other stuff. And as always, thank you so much for watching.